Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Pete. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing on Tuesday?
We are pretty well, Rick. Obviously, you can imagine the topic of conversation has been hot and heavy here since the weekend in Texas. And I have to be honest, I've been waiting to talk to you. I want to hear your view right out of the box of what went down in Texas with Kyle Busch as a guy from behind the wheel.
Well, 2 weeks ago we had Tore Up Tuesday. Last week we had Wild Tuesday, and this week we got Wow Tuesday. So, man, I tell you, and it all started with just a little Camping World Truck Series race at Texas. I mean, I was even in it, but I didn't see it. But I seen it afterwards, and that's a shame. I mean, that was really a shame. Can you believe it? I can't. And wow, it's like I say, it was a wow weekend. All weekend, if you were an 18 fan, and well, it was a unbelievable turn of circumstances. A lot of drama involved, and sometimes you hate things that happen, but it was just accumulating. I told y'all about that in Martinsville, about drivers under pressure, drivers having problems, drivers' fuses being too short, and this dynamite just went off. And so, and I hate it for Ron Hornaday. I mean, there you are with 3 races to go. You're 15 points out. And believe me, guys, when I first seen this little incident, both trucks could have went on with minor damage and could have had a competitive finish and went on down the road. And it was just a point where a driver maybe thought that, shouldn't have been racing that hard at lap 15. Undoubtedly, he don't know Ron Hornaday that well. But at the same time, I mean, it was a close deal going on through turns 1 and 2. I mean, I actually seen Hornaday, didn't want to crowd him at first and actually touched the 07 truck on the bottom. That's what sent him into Kyle Busch, and then all of a sudden, at 180 miles an hour, they hit a couple of times. I'll go ahead and give them that. They hit a couple of times. They even brushed the wall. But at that point in time, nothing was wrong except for some minor damage. That they had to have great crews. They could have fixed those trucks, been back in action, was early in the race, put that behind them, go on. But they put something behind them, all right, and they had 2 tore-up trucks and didn't finish the night out.
You've been around this a long time, Rick, and you know that it's very rare for NASCAR to park a driver for the weekend. So you got to know that what happened on Friday night got the sanctioning body's attention to have Kyle Busch park for the rest of the Texas weekend.
I've seen that once before, and that was Kevin Harvick at Martinsville. I was actually involved in that race, and I've seen that happen, and I know the incident very well, and the disrespect that was showed that particular day because of hot feelings, I guess you would call it, and NASCAR got Kyle's attention this weekend, but at the same time, I'm a driver. I was an owner. So is Kyle. Kyle's a driver. He's an owner of that truck and all this kind of stuff. That's beside the point. But I'm being an owner, driver, a participant in the truck series, whatever. I don't want things handled this way. But NASCAR created this monster here, and it's not the first time this has happened, and it's not the first time it's happened this style with other racers. And it was yet to put a stop to it. It's not that bad. All out, boys. No holds barred here. And drivers have at it. All this kind of stuff. And we have just figured out that we have stepped over the line here. We got to draw the line in the sand somewhere, and hope the tide don't wash it away. But we got to draw the line here, and I hope it stays because things are pretty wild on the racetrack, and retaliation, I don't go for it with other people's equipment. I don't go for it with my own equipment. I just don't see it. I think things ought to be handled a different way because mistakes can be made, and I just hate it being taken out on owners and equipment. I've always said that. I always will say that. And you can see the wrinkle in Joe Gibbs' forehead on his interviews on Saturday morning that, he was taking it all very diplomatically and handling it very well, which Joe Gibbs is that kind of professional person. But at the same time, I noticed a wrinkle in his forehead where, he was an upset individual inside. He had a lot of things on his mind. He had a lot of things he had to take care of that morning. and a driver put him in that position. And that was a position he hates to be in, but he knows throughout his career that he's had to deal with number one, kids. He had to deal with other professional players, a lot of individuals that have egos and things like that. But at the same time, he was in a situation he hates to be in, but he's one of the best at it. And folks, let me tell you, and fans of Kyle Busch, all this kind of stuff, Joe Gibbs will take care of it.
Are you concerned about racing on the track with a driver that seems to have issues emotionally like that, to where you're running on a long racing and all of a sudden that driver appears to snap and then just hunts the driver down and runs into him and shoves him and then dumps him? I mean, does that concern you that there's a participant or a driver on the track that has the potential of doing that?
Absolutely. I mean, I keep my eye out for things like that, but at the same time, he better not do it to me. He's only going to have that opportunity once. And so, I look at it like that, and because I'm not going to do it to anybody on the racetrack. I'm not going to hunt somebody down and do that to them. I'm just not. I mean, I would stop racing. If the sport came to that, I would stop, because there's other ways to handle things, and there's other ways to get your point across. And because we all, even Kyle Busch, I realize he's a young guy, and a young guy to the sport and all that kind of stuff, but he's got a lot of experience. He's won a lot of races, and there's just other ways to handle it rather than snapping like that and tearing vehicles up or putting people in difficult situations. And because he wasn't thinking going into turn 3 on the back bumper of Hornaday's truck that he was actually only 15 points out of the point lead. He only thought about that when he got in the pits. Somebody jerked him out of the truck and said, "Hey, what was you doing here?" and talked to him for a minute, because undoubtedly his radio was off, because they were trying to, even his spotter, crew chief, team manager, whatever, was trying to get him turned loose of him. And it took a while to get his point across, what he was trying to do to Hornaday, because Hornaday held on to it all the way to the exit of 4.
There actually was some racing over the weekend in Texas after all that went down. I know you were.
And it was good racing.
Yeah,
it was good racing. It was good racing in the Truck Series race.
Yep.
I was part of that. I mean, the Trans-Pecos Trucking County Building Center Chevrolet was moved up to 16th from a 27-28 starting position. I was feeling really good about it. We run 85% of the race. We had a vibration, and it just got worse and worse. And I know when I'm talking about this, I mean, guys going down the highway in their street cars or whatever, they'll have a vibration going on, and they just turn the radio up. I mean, when women go down the interstate and they start having a vibration, they take the car to a fix-it shop and they say, "Fix it." So it's like 180 miles an hour, have a vibration, we're coming to the pits. We got to fix it. Something's fixing to happen here. And so we couldn't figure out what it was. And anyway, just had a rough night. But I tell you what, things are looking up for next year, 2012. You might see Rick Crawford back in the Truck Series on a limited schedule, and I look forward to that, and I can't wait.
Now, don't be teasing us now.
I'm not. No, it was. I tell you what, it was. I enjoyed being at Texas. It was pretty neat. I had some business owners come up to me, and we're talking about things. I got teams talking to me, and I thought that was pretty neat. I mean, it goes forward to say sometimes inside in mind's better than being missing. And I was proud to be in Texas with Tagsby Racing, so that all worked out. I tell you what, Trevor Bain did a good job on Saturday. I mean, just outdrove those guys. Got ahead of them on the restart, went ahead and led the race, took the win there for the 16 car. I was proud to see that. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards on Sunday. That's the best drivers in the teams NASCAR has today. They're going for a championship. It is a two-man race, but to say something can't happen to both, it can, but it's really not likely. And I remember one time, Dale Earnhardt was running for a championship back in the day. Don't remember what year it was. They even brought, to the last race of the season, I think it was in Atlanta, they brought a frame machine to the racetrack just in case he was in an accident. They could fix the frame of the car and get him back out there for the maximum number of points. And then they had a trailer, an extra trailer with all these parts in it and stuff. And I'm seeing Chocolate Myers on there holding the kitchen sink. So they brought everything to the last race in Atlanta, even the kitchen sink. Well, let me tell you something, folks. These two teams here, they've been bringing it since day one of the chase. That's the reason they're where they're at. They got all their resources tied into these two teams. You got the two best drivers on the circuit right now, and I just feel like it's going to be a heck of a race going into Phoenix. I know I'm rambling on a little bit. You're going to say, when are you going to let Pete and Mike talk? Well, I got one more thing to say. It's about Phoenix. You're going to Phoenix on a new surface, new racetrack. I know Goodyear's been out there trying to put rubber down on the racetrack. I hope it's not an issue with the chase as far as the issues concerned about tires or something like that actually puts a wrinkle in the chase. So I hope it's a great race for everybody. I hope it's a good, safe race for everybody, and everybody can finish where they should or how their competition is on the racetrack.
I know that there's some pressure on Goodyear. I mean, they are one bad tire selection away from turning everything upside down. All the work that they do, they've done a lot of testing, and they've got a lot of smart men and women working over there at Goodyear to select the right tire. In my mind, Rick, this is more of a wild card than Talladega or Martinsville, because at least you know what to expect there. With moving out the dog leg and uphill, downhill, widening out the track, yeah, it's the same Phoenix International Raceway on the outside, but something totally brand new on the inside. And by the way, you got your top 2 point guys in the Cup Series separated by 3 points. There's a lot riding on this race this Sunday.
Very much so, and I agree with you, Mike, about Talladega and Martinsville. I even said it. That's a wild card race. Martinsville was a wild card race, and here we go to Phoenix. And you're right. There's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of questions unknown. There's a lot of questions to Goodyear unknown. There's a lot of questions as far as these chassis are concerned, the setups on the cars and all that kind of stuff. It could be, but I'm going to tell you, these teams in the chase and the other teams, believe me, there's a lot of teams out here that wants to go to Phoenix and run good, and they want to go to Phoenix and win, besides these two guys that's on top. So there is a lot of hard work this week going, how do we approach this? How do we approach the tires? How do we approach our chassis? How do we approach, the engineering of our race cars and things like that? There's a lot of work going on and in place for this racetrack at Phoenix International. I was a big fan in the mid-'80s, Copper Classic. Used to drive from Mobile, Alabama, all the way to Phoenix, Arizona to compete in the Copper Classic. Big fan of the desert. I mean, what a racetrack, what a fine facility out there. I mean, back in the day, Dennis Wood, Buddy Job had the place. NASCAR took it over, and what a neat place in the desert to go race. And fans, a lot of fan-friendly things to do out there in Phoenix, and what a great place, great setting for a racetrack.
Great setting, great city, great food. It's a fun weekend to go to Phoenix. I mean, it really, really is. The Cobalt Tools 500 coming up this weekend at Phoenix International Raceway. Live coverage here on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. Thank you so much for the time, my friend. We'll catch up with